So is it more the firm has to go through this maturity phase to have this um, vault of cash to jump into that area? Is that, or is it, do they partner with, and I don't know much about them, like an Esquire Bank or some type of funding company? Like, how do you approach the capitalization side?
It really is. I mean, usually you're having PI that's funding the Mass Torts, PI and MVA. Those are quicker turnarounds, year and a half, to be able to really invest in Mass Torts because these cases they cost a lot to acquire. They're between one to sometimes $10,000 plus per case to acquire, especially necrotizing enterocolitis, baby formula cases, and paraquat that they're at the upper realm of that. It's just they're very difficult to get. There's not that many cases. Some are easier to get. And then you're waiting a very long time. And with these bankruptcies that are going on with J&J and 3M and Aero Technologies, it's really delayed it even further. So when I started 10 years ago, they didn't have those problems. They had resolutions to cases within, 2 to 3 to 4 years, large MDL settlements, and, all the claimants got paid and you could move on to the next mass tort project. It's really not like that anymore. So there's been, mass torts that have been in the litigation phase for 5, 6, and, talcs going on 8, 9, 10 years at this point. They're very long trajectories that it's changed the way mass torts and mass torts attorneys are practicing and handling cases. So mass tort attorneys that I worked with 10 years ago, they're actually doing PI and MVA now to bring in because
Mm.
they've spent so much money the past decade on advertising, bringing in the cases, the workup, filing, all those filing fees, 350 a piece, all the litigation discovery, all the staffing that you have to do this type of work. And now they're getting back into MVA and PI to fund their current practice and to keep going and with their mass torts because you need resolutions on those. It's really delayed a lot of things.
Yeah, it seems like with the awareness of Mass Torts Made Perfect and kind of this some of these big numbers that a lot more people have jumped in. There's a lot more claimants, a lot more people trying to get that piece of the pie, raises the cost to acquire a case. The the other thing that I've really wondered about, I got a lot of questions about Mass Torts because this is an area I'm more, who I work with is 99% single event, car accident, slip and fall guys. Is, do you take the approach and build, like, for risk mitigation? I guess, I have in the back of my mind, Warren Buffett saying diversification is a hedge against stupidity, but like, we don't know with torts, like, look what happened to Zantac. Do you build like a portfolio and that's the approach? Do you go for like Lejeune that's got a fund, or maybe AFFF that's got the science? Like, how do you approach the risk mitigation side of the torts?
I mean, some firms are very different. Some firms they went all in on Zantac. They had thousands and thousands of claimants, and that's really what they focused on, which was not good with that ruling. It's being appealed. And you're correct, diversification. I believe my colleague Grace Montielgro was on with you
Mm-hmm.
maybe a couple months ago, and that's what really she speaks to as well with Ed Lake is you want to have a sizable portfolio, but across all the different mass torts, because what we're seeing, Talc's being delayed, 3M's being delayed with the bankruptcies, Camp Lejeune, they're looking to reduce the attorney's fees. Those cases are actually very hard to prove as well because the records just aren't there from the military records or even the diagnosing records. I mean, on top of that, and then these newer ones where they're still developing. Hair relaxers are brand new, MDL, Tylenol with autism and ADHD, and there's a couple other ones that may come up as well. So it's really to have the same amount of cases across what you're able to handle. So you develop a budget and a portfolio, and that's what we work with attorneys. We've
Yeah.
seen what's happened over the past 20 years and can really counsel them on which ones they get into, maybe a higher number of hernia mesh. For instance, there's a large manufacturer that's looking to settle now that you can still get those cases and get a faster recovery versus hair relaxer that's just starting out.
Yeah.
And we can counsel on, the the injuries that were that we're looking for, the ones to go after, and the quantity of the cases as well.